NASA launches Artemis-1 moon mission on its most powerful rocket ever. The Artemis moon program's first mission is underway. NASA's new era of deep space exploration has begun. With a mighty roar, the most powerful NASA rocket ever built, the Space Launch System, SLS, soared into the Florida early morning sky on the Artemis-1 mission, a risky and long-delayed test flight to send a next-generation space capsule to the moon and back. Artemis-1 is sending NASA's new Orion spacecraft on an uncrewed test flight around the moon. This shakedown mission, NASA's first flight of a crew-capable moonship in nearly 50 years, serves as the proving ground to see if SLS and Orion are ready to help return astronauts to the lunar surface by 2025 under NASA's Artemis program. NASA commentator Darrell Nail said during the webcast of this morning's launch, "We rise together, back to the moon and beyond." A few minutes later, the Artemis launch director addressed her team at Mission Control. "This is your moment," she said. "We are all part of something incredibly special." The first launch of Artemis was the first step in returning our country to the moon and onto Mars. What you have done today will inspire generations to come. As in previous attempts, this morning's try saw its share of setbacks. While the SLS upper stage fueling process was underway roughly 3 hours before launch, an intermittent leak was detected in the liquid hydrogen replenishment valve on Artemis-1's mobile launch tower. NASA sent a specialized red crew to the tower to tighten packing nuts to stop the leak, a process that took roughly an hour. Following that fix, a separate issue with an Ethernet switch at a radar site on the U.S. Space Force Eastern Range caused further uncertainty, prompting a no-go on the range until a replacement was found. The Ethernet issue was fixed while the launch countdown was at the planned 10 minutes hold. This was the third launch attempt for Artemis-1. An initial attempt on August 29 was scrubbed due to a glitch in the cooling process that one of the rocket's 4 main engines experienced. A second attempt on September 3 was also scrubbed when a hydrogen leak was detected during the rocket's lengthy fueling process. SLS was then rolled back to KSC's vehicle assembly building for repairs and to shelter it from Hurricane Ian, which slammed into Florida's Space Coast in late September. Most recently, the amended target date of November 12 was delayed because of Hurricane Nicole. High winds produced by the storm tore a piece of insulative caulking away from the outside of the Orion spacecraft, prompting Artemis mission teams to study the issue and determine if a November 16 launch was within safety parameters. Teams here at KSC rapidly assessed the damage in the days following the storm and concluded that SLS and Orion were still good for this morning's launch. "I feel good headed into this attempt on the 16th, Mike Serafin, Artemis mission manager at NASA headquarters in Washington, said during a press briefing on November 13. Jeremy Parsons, deputy manager of NASA's Exploration Ground Systems program at KSC, said during a teleconference on Monday, November 14, that the work the Artemis mission team has performed to get SLS off the ground following the storm has been incredible. If you were to ask me a couple of weeks ago, would we go through a storm like Hurricane Nicole and then be able to turn around and have cleared the vehicle and be in good shape, I would have said, hey, chances are probably low. But this team has just been firing on all cylinders, Parsons said. 8 minutes after liftoff this morning, the SLS rocket's upper stage reached orbit with Orion, with the spacecraft starting to unfurl its 4 solar arrays from its service module shortly thereafter. A spacesuit-clad Snoopy plush toy is aboard to float around in weightlessness along with a Shaun the Sheep doll, from NASA's Orion partner the European Space Agency, which provided the service module. If all goes well, the SLS upper stage should fire its single engine to raise its orbit just under an hour after launch, then fire up again 98 minutes after liftoff to put Orion on course for the Moon. While NASA hopes for success, Artemis-1's test flight nature means something could always go wrong. It is a new creation. It is a new rocket and a new spacecraft, NASA's Artemis-1 mission manager Mike Serafin said before launch. This is something that has not been done in over 50 years and is incredibly difficult. NASA engineers may be on pins and needles for the mission, but Artemis-1 appears to have captured the public's imagination.